Contemporary Art Center, Graça Morais. Graça Morais Exhibition, Restlessness. Technical Acknowledgements. The text for this exhibition with audio description were created within the project Culture for All Bragança, funded by the European Social Fund. Reference number NORT 074230 FSE 000058 of the Bragança City Council and carried out by the Polytechnic Institute of Bragança. These texts were created based on two guided tours, one with Jorge da Costa and the other one with a group of people with visual impairments.
Instructions. We will start the audio-described visit to the exhibition on Restlessness by Graça Morais. This audio recording includes audio description, which is a resource intended for people with visual impairments. However, it also offers relevant information for other visitors, enhancing the reading of and the access to contemporary art. This visit lasts approximately 40 minutes and is divided into parts: information about the center and Graça Morais, and about the exhibition space, from the stairs to each of the 7 rooms. These recordings include a description of the space and spatial orientation, the description of the works and the texts that make up the exhibition. The description of the rooms will be done clockwise, that is, from left to right. The spatial orientations we will use during this visit will be based on the military clockwise model, that is 12 in front of you, 3 on your right, 6 behind you, and 9 on your left, and intermediate locations. These indications are based on the assumption that the starting point, per visitors, is the center of each hall, where they are stopped. Any movements around the room should take into account the appropriate adaptation of the spatial orientations provided. Right and left will be used for the description of the works, but when referring to the figures present in the works, we will take their perspective. It will be their right and their left. The dimensions of the works in spaces are indicated wherever possible, with the width being mentioned first followed by the length. Most of the works have no frame. They are paintings or drawings on canvas. When this is not the case, this fact will be noted in the description.
Contemporary Art Center. The building where the Contemporary Art Center Graça Morais is located was built in the 18th century by Francisco Xavier da Veiga Cabral, arms governor of the province of Trás-os-Montes. It was later bought by José Sá Vargas and became known as the Vargas Manor House, bearing the architecture of a small palace. In 1936, the building was donated to Santa Casa da Misericórdia, Holy House of Mercy, and, in 1940, it was bought by Banco de Portugal, which ran in those premises until 1993. In 2001, it was acquired by the Bragança City Council. A year later, the City Council applied for the Interreg 3A program, the so-called Trans-Museums project, and refurbished the Manor House to become the Contemporary Art Center with a project by the architect Eduardo Souto-Moura. 30th June 2008 marks the official inauguration of the Contemporary Art Center Graça Morais, which pays tribute to the artists from Trás-os-Montes.
Graça Morais, Maria da Graça Pinto de Almeida Morais, was born on March 17, 1948, in Vieiro, a village in Vila Flor, in the district of Bragança. Since she was a child, she has shown interest in the arts, more specifically in painting. She studied painting at the School of Fine Arts in Porto, which she finished in 1971, presenting an exhibition performance with paintings superimposed on silks, painted dresses, and screens. She taught in various places in the country and organized her first exhibition in 1974 in Guimarães. She married twice, first to the painter Jaime Silva and later to the musician Pedro Caldeira Cabral. She has a daughter called Joana. Since 1974, Graça Morais has held and participated in over 100 solo and group exhibitions, both in Portugal and abroad. Among these, at national level, the exhibition Humanity, held in 2018 at the Contemporary Art Center Graça Morais, marked the 10 years of the center. This exhibition traveled to the National Museum of Contemporary Art in Chiado, Lisbon, and the Soares dos Reis National Museum in Porto during 2019.
Exhibition space. The Graça Morais exhibition space extends over 7 rooms, occupying the entire upper floor of the center, belonging to the former Sá Vargas Manor House. All the rooms are contiguous, that is, they're connected to each other by open wooden doors. This space is U-shaped. In these 7 rooms, you can appreciate 48 works by Graça Morais, All the rooms have white walls and floors with varnished light wood planks. A soft yellow wooden baseboard connects with the door jabs, giving a sense of continuity. The door jabs are about a meter wide, against which the doors of each room are opened. The ceiling of the rooms is approximately 3 meters high. The lighting consists of suspended tubular lamps similar to transparent tubes, 1 meter below the ceiling, forming a rectangle of light above us. All the rooms have wooden ceilings in the same yellow color, with different reliefs. The environment is spacious, welcoming and comfortable, although there are no chairs for visitors to sit on.
Stairs. We have a work at the beginning of the stairs, leading to the 7 rooms of this exhibition by the artist Graça Morais. It is located on the right side, at 2 o'clock, on a white wall. The work is an acrylic on canvas with 60 by 60 centimeters. It is a self-portrait of Graça Morais. To the right of the piece, a text that Graça Morais wrote in July 2021. It reads as follows: "The pieces I present on this exhibition are the physical manifestation of a spiritual world that I wish to offer everyone. I painted as if an angel of annunciation had helped me turn fear, anguish, and my great loneliness into paintings that amazed me. Sibyls are animal women that represent a bestiary full of mystery. These works are a world in transformation, of which I did not know. The faces and the eyes that question us filled up papers and canvases as a diary fraught with great restlessness. For months, I felt the need to make new experiments in painting. In these works, I reinvented the masculine and the feminine, the animal and the human, the body and the spirit, the religiosity and mourning the dead, as well as the affliction for those who flee from slaughter, wars, famine, and gross social injustice. Today I feel the urgency to rewrite my short history, so intertwined with humankind, animals, and the plant world. I yearn for these paintings and drawings to become figures of salvation. Let's go up the stairs. There are 2 flights of stairs with 12 steps each. On the landing, between the flights, there is a diagonal opening on the wall that looks like a window torn off the wall. It is painted in blue and covered with a shutter in the same color. This is a characteristic mark of the architect Sotomoda.
Room 1. We are in the first room of the exhibition. It has no windows and is lit only by artificial light. In this room at 1 o'clock, we have the wall text about the exhibition. Let's read it. As an emotional state resulting from the awareness of physical or psychological threat, be it real, hypothetical or imaginary, fear has been one of the topics approached by Graça Morais at various times of her artistic production. Her most recent works proceed with the exploration of this topic, stemming from numerous international events such as the tragic death of George Floyd, an episode that relate the history of police violence against American black people, the continuous drama of refugees and migrants attempting to reach the borders of Europe or the United States of America, or even the uncertainties brought on by the causes and consequences of a worldwide pandemic. To these external dramas, another level of restlessness is added, more personal and intimate. The characters in the drawings and paintings now displayed are mostly original and inspired in images broadcast on TV and by mass media. They are merged with biblical figures that populate the iconic paintings that Michelangelo performed on the walls of the Sistine Chapel on the Vatican. Graça Morais seems to have given particular emphasis to a number of scenes in the book of Genesis, a narrative that tells of humankind's birth and thus of violence and fear, as well as solidarity, union and hope. Dense and restless, these pieces are the result of a reflection about human condition and the fear that overwhelms us on the face of cruelty, the unknown, injustice, the unintelligible. It is worth highlighting the intense and piercing look of these characters that oftentimes emerge under the shape of metamorphosis. The return to colour is also noteworthy, which contrasts with the monochromia that dominated among the works of the previous series, Metamorphosis of Humanity. Along with drawings and paintings, Graça Morais also worked directly in one of the rooms that is now fully covered in newspapers' pages, and also a testimony of current times and of privileged sources of her work, enabling visitors to enjoy different experiences when in contact with Graça's work. Curated by Joana Baião and Jorge Costa. Production by Bragança City Council and the Contemporary Art Centre Graça Morais. This room has 4 paintings. 2 are on the left of the room and the other 2 side by side on the wall to our right at 3 o'clock. The smaller painting is called Violence and is from 2020. It is vertical and measures 50 by 65 centimeters. The painting shows two figures in a colored background. In the center of the piece, we have a figure with a ram's head. His body is human and is lying on the ground. Above his figure, we see a leg that seems to be female because of the red clothes, maybe a dress. It has its right leg and left hand pushing the body of the ram's head figure. The figure is looking to the left of the painting and has a right arm and hand resting on the ground. In the bottom right corner, we see two tiny people, in line with the ram's headed figure's hand ploughing the earth. Behind them, a green pasture, and in the background the mountains, maybe those of Trás-os-Montes. Above the two figures, the blue sky. The painting refers very clearly to George Floyd's death, who was asphyxiated by a policeman in the USA and which impressed Graça Morais so much. In this piece, the artist transformed the victim into a figure in metamorphosis, as Graça usually does in many of her works. Half human, half animal. The policeman here is represented by a more anonymous figure metamorphosed into a woman. This female figure is trying to dominate the other figure. At 7 o'clock, we have the 2019 painting called The Vomit. It has a thin light wood frame and glass. It is an acrylic painting on paper. The work is 40 by 30 centimeters and is vertical. We see a large red tongue in the center of the painting and coming out of the mouth of a figure that is facing us. It has a dark background. The figure occupies the whole canvas and we see more clearly its right shoulder and face painted in yellow. Its tongue looks like a vomit of blood. The painting is ghostly. Let's take 3 steps forward and cross the passage to room 2.
Room 2. In addition to artificial light, this second room is lit by natural light, coming in through the 2 open windows on the right side. The windows have whitish blinds that allow you to see the inner garden of the center. This room also has 4 paintings, 3 on the right side of the room and 1 on the left side at 9 o'clock. This work is called The Wait, from 2006. It is an acrylic on canvas, measuring 166 by 205 centimeters. It has 3 human figures facing us, occupying the whole of the canvas. Around them, yellow and green tones stand out. The woman on the left has short hair and is wearing a dark red dress with a neckline. She has her hands clasped over her belly. This is Graça Morais' mother, also portrayed in another piece in this room. The woman in the center has more masculine features. She is wearing a red gown over a black dress. Her hair is short and her arms are hanging along her body. On the right side is a man, Graça's Uncle John, also depicted in another painting in this room. He wears a light blue shirt and has short dark brown hair, raised in a quiff. In front of his torso is a dead dark brown partridge. We do not see the man's hands. The features of these 3 figures are frowning, heavy and tired. They all look to the right side of the painting. Both the artist's uncle and one of her brothers used to give her partridges and rabbits, signs of the hunting tradition in Trás-os-Montes. At 5 o'clock is the painting called Alda, from 2012. It measures 90 by 90 centimeters. It is an acrylic on canvas with a narrow light wooden frame, which almost seems to be part of the painting. It is a portrait of Graça Morais' mother in yellow, orange, and brown tones. She also has short hair and a tired face. Let's take 4 steps forward and cross the passage to room 3.
Room 3. This room is slightly larger than the others. It has 2 windows with whitish blinds. These windows allow us to see the inner garden of the center and adjacent buildings, namely the white cube-shaped building, which is the main room for the visiting exhibitions in this center. This room displays 13 pieces, where the focus are on the character's head and looks. At 5 o'clock, we have 4 small paintings. Between 7 and 9 o'clock, another 4 pieces. These have a frightening appearance with very intense looks and gigantic hairless skulls. Of these 4 pieces, we choose one. It's called The Thread, and it's from 2021. It is 60 by 73 centimeters and is horizontal. 2 heads occupy the entire canvas in the background with shades of grey, green, orange and red. We can still see the slender necks of these figures looking to our left. Their skin is greyish and unnatural. They really look like extraterrestrial beings. Their eyes are outlined in black and are frightening. On the wall in front of us, we have 3 more pieces interspersed with 2 glass-framed drawings. The drawings are studies by Graça Morais to prepare for the subsequent pieces. They were inspired by Michelangelo's paintings in the Sistine Chapel and the Book of Genesis from the Old Testament, the first book of the Hebrew and Christian Bibles. From left to right, we have the prophecy, the distrust, and the weight of the world. They're all from 2020. Let's talk about two of them. The painting in the center, the distrust, shows two figures with red bodies against a dark background. The figure on the right is hugging the other one from his back. His left eye is turned towards us, and the rest of his blue face is covered by the other figure. The figure on the left has his back to us, and we cannot see his face. The piece immediately to the right of this one is the weight of the world. We also have two human figures on a light blue and green background. The person in front has no face and is carrying a stone on his back. His body is bent with a weight. The other figure picks up from behind a large stone and looks directly at us. The skin tone of these figures is pinkish, almost red, very similar to the figures in the distrust. In the bottom left corner, two trees in a field and three fuzzy figures. Above them, the light blue sky. This stone refers to the myth of Cepheus, according to which he was punished by Hermes, the conductor of souls into the afterlife, to push a boulder to the top of a hill. Whenever Cepheus reached the top, the stone invariably fell down the hill. The punishment was to be repeated until eternity. Let's take 4 steps forward, turn to our left, and take about 5 steps to enter room 4.
Room 4. This room is much narrower than the previous one. At 12 o'clock, we can see 2 closed windows with wooden shutters. On the wall to our left, there are 2 paintings on canvas, and on the right, 11 drawings in charcoal with a light wood frame and glass. As in the previous room, the drawings are studies for the various figures represented on the canvases. The theme of this room refers to the problem of refugees. The figures represented in these pieces are painted in charcoal, possibly to suggest the darkest skin color of most refugees. At 8 o'clock, we have the piece called The Flood from 2021. It is charcoal and pastel on a linen canvas. It's 120 by 150 centimeters, and it's horizontal. Many human figures are huddled together by the sea. We don't know if they are men or women. We have a sense of confusion because the figures are overlapping each other. They seem to be in despair, in a dangerous situation, and the dark tones prevail. In the foreground there are 6 people. On the left side of the painting, a figure with raised arms. In the center, 4 figures with disfigured faces that look at us. On the right side, a figure with a life buoy on his neck. In the background, more people scattered on the canvas. In the bottom left corner, 2 figures, one leaning on the other's back. At the top of the picture, a person alone in the sea. In the upper right corner, 3 people on a boat. In the bottom right corner, a person with a red waistcoat, with his back to us. The figures in the background convey the idea that they are still trying to survive in the sea. Those in the foreground seem to already be on dry land. At 10 o'clock, we have the canvas The Migrants, also from 2021. It is charcoal on pastel on a linen canvas. It measures 120 by 150 centimeters and is horizontal. A group of figures are around a fallen boat, some painted in black charcoal, others in light pink pastel. In the upper right corner, a figure is holding a stick in her hand and seems to be trying to beat the other black figures, as if she was forbidding the migrants to enter. This figure with the stick represents Europe, a bare-breasted female figure that prevents migrants from finding the safety they crave for on the European continent. Below this, another curved figure appears to hold a boat. On the left side of the painting, 6 black figures seem to wear striped waistcoats. As in the other painting, wavy lines in blue, white, and black simulate the waves on the sea. Let's move 3 steps forward to the center of the room, turn left, take another 4 steps, and enter room 5.
Room 5. On our right side, there are 2 windows with open shutters. Through them we can see the Chave d'Or Café and the old Cathedral Square. The walls of this room are completely covered with newspapers pages. Let's read the titles of some of the news. Young people with COVID. Did you think this disease was only killing old people? Excellent for Sofia de Mello Reiner's cover. Fantasporto, opening up cinema. A 17th century saga tells us about 21st century intolerances. Portuguese National Health Service nurses not enough for new 150 mass vaccination posts. Accidents with politicians' cars are an old problem. vegetation management and fire preventions. Have we learned enough? Frederic Lenoir, going back to the life we had, is missing an opportunity. At 1 o'clock, we have another text by Graça Morais from July 2021. It is placed on the wall and reads like this. I lived my first childhood in a small isolated village in Trás-os-Montes. The kitchens in the houses of my hometown, Vieiro, were small and very dark because the fires that were lit on the hearths were used for curing the fumeiro, a type of smokehouse typical of Trás-os-Montes where a variety of enchidos is cured, that is, intestines stuffed with minced meat, mainly pork. They also filled the walls with smoke and soot. Every year, these granite walls, covered in clay or simply irregular stone, were cleaned in the big Easter clean-ups. At the time, women would stick newspapers to the walls with the help of a kind of brown glue that left their fingers soggy and, in a more or less careful manner, transformed those walls into huge tapestries of words and images. Most women were illiterate, and the newspapers were often hung upside down, which demanded additional effort, so I could satisfy my curiosity and be able to read the news that were almost invariably incomplete. In my head, I would enthusiastically carry on imagining other worlds, other images, other words. My fascination for newspapers began in those small and welcoming kitchens, and the kindness that filled the spaces of these large and humble families. Now I am a regular reader of paper newspapers and magazines. I need to touch and smell them. I yearn to cut out the photographs that touch and thrill me, which later become part of my personal archive. I use all this material, reinventing it and rewriting my most intimate diary. The works I created from March 2020 to July 2021 result from thousands of news that announce a virus that brings on disease and death. The fear maddened the world. I decided to close myself in my studio with my treasures. I painted the metamorphosis of animals and humans as a survival instinct. In loneliness and freedom, I painted my fears. Some of the pages of newspaper are turned upside down. At 9 o'clock, there is a work table resting on 3 wooden frames. The table is dirty, and on it are scattered tubes of acrylic paint, sticks of charcoal, an open box with pastel sticks, jar with brushes, glue tape, 2 bottles of water, and 2 piles of newspaper. At 8 and 10 o'clock, 2 light metal ladders. One of them has a black apron hanging from it, and the other 2 paintbrushes and a roll of glue tape. All these materials served for the artist to draw and paint on newspapers when the exhibition was set up. There are countless drawings scattered around the walls of this room, from the smallest that almost go unnoticed to a larger figure drawn on the wall between the ladders. There are animals drawn in charcoal, 2 goats, a horse and a grasshopper, and several human figures. At 9 o'clock, there is a drawing of a woman lying on her back with her head back and her hair hanging down among the newspaper. Her legs are stretched out horizontally and her arms are crossed over her body. Right in front of us, to the left of the door to room 6, a very dark drawing of a face. Its eyes are wide open and its mouth is open. It looks as if it's screaming. It reminds us of the painting of the Norwegian artist Edvard Munch and his famous painting called The Scream. Let's take 4 steps, go through the yellow door and enter the second to the last room.
Room 6. This room is slightly larger than the others. To our right, there are 3 windows with yellow wooden shutters, occupying the whole of this wall. Only the middle window has the shutter slightly open. This room has 8 pieces, 5 of them with a light wood frame with glass. At 5 o'clock, a television shows a video about the setting up of this exhibition, in short interviews with Graça Morais and the curators Jorge da Costa and Joana Baião. It is spoken in Portuguese and also offers subtitling in Portuguese, English, and Spanish, audio description in Portuguese, English, and Spanish, and translation into Portuguese Sign Language. In front of the television, 2 small brown armchairs. On the left side of the room, at 7 o'clock, a painting measuring 53 by 73 centimeters vertically. It is called Angel's Look from 2020 and represents a human face on a dark background. Her head is covered by a whitish scarf. Her face is painted in shades of pink and her neck and forehead in shades of green. She has glazed eyes as if she were blind. This piece refers to Saint Lucia, patron saint of sight. In 2020, Graça Morais had an eye operation, and this is one of the works that reflects the fear she felt of going blind. The largest piece is at 8 o'clock. It is 1.80 by 2 meters and is vertical. It is entitled The Prayer from 2017. The painting features a total of 9 figures and is divided into 2 levels, the upper and the lower. On the top level, one figure is centered and suspended as if it is Jesus Christ on the cross. He has a large head with greenish yellow skin, a small red body with no arms and short legs. On the lower level, we see 6 figures with blemished features. They all have a ghastly appearance, with intense and piercing eyes. One has a feline snout, another is covered by a dark tunic, as if it were a burqa, and another has no mouth. They are all facing us, except one that is in profile. Below them is the white flower of an anthurium and some large green jagged leaves of the plant called Adam's rib. Between the 2 levels represented on the painting, there are 2 figures in profile with ram's heads. They are dressed in white. The one on the right has his hands joined together in front of his body in sign of prayer. It seems that they are the link between one level and the other. On the right side of the painting, behind this figure, there is a side strip with several fleurs-de-lis painted in white. The background is a vague landscape in shades of yellow, oranges, and greens at the top, and with darker colors at the bottom of the picture. Let's walk forward 7 steps and enter the room 7.
Room 7. This is the last room, and as a rule, it always receives the largest works by Graça Morais. It is a narrower room than the others. To our right, there are 2 windows with closed shutters. This room has 6 pieces, the smallest measuring 20 by 20 centimeters and the largest 2 by 3.40 meters. This big piece is right in front of the entrance of this room. It is called The Desolation from 2017 and was painted with acrylic, charcoal and pastel. Strong colors, reds, oranges, purples and blacks stand out. In the foreground, the piece presents 4 figures. On the left side is a blurry, faceless human figure with a mule snout over its torso. In the center is a female figure with a ram's head that looks at us. Her breasts are bare and below them she is carrying a baby covered with a transparent white cloth. This figure reminds us of Pietà, that is, a sculpture of Our Lady with Jesus Christ dead in her arms, like the one that we can see in St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican, created by Michelangelo. To the right of this Pietà is a man's head. He has short, dark hair, a high forehead, and a greenish skin. Charcoal strokes mark his facial features. It is a direct reference to the young Portuguese man murdered by the sons of the Iraqi ambassador. On the right side of this face, we see a woman wearing a shawl over her body and head. Her eyes are black and lifeless, looking to the left of the painting. On her torso are superimposed drawings of hands, arms, and the head of a ram. In the background, we see a totally burned landscape, painted in shades of grey, but with strokes of red and orange, representing fire. The trees are stripped of leaves and charred. In the center, above the man's head, 3 figures cover their mouths, possibly because it's hard for them to breathe. Another one is alone in the upper right corner. This piece is a reference to the violent fires that have ravaged Portugal in recent years. It is not a happy picture, but, despite the sadness, the presence of the Pietà brings hope that everything will soon improve, according to Jorge da Costa, one of the curators of this exhibition. Now turn back, take 3 steps to re-enter room 6, turn to our right and take 7 more steps. You will reach room 1, which gives you access to the stairs or the lift.
Closing. We now come to the end of our visit. On behalf of the team who helped create and produce this audio-described visit, our thanks, and we hope you have enjoyed it. We are looking forward to your next visit. Before you leave, we would like to ask you to give us your opinion. For that purpose, please complete a short paper questionnaire available at the reception desk of the center or use the QR code to answer it online. Your feedback is important to continue improving our visits with audio description. Technical acknowledgements. These texts were produced within the project Culture for All Bragança. Norte 074230 FSE 000058 of the Bragança City Council, with funding from the European Social Fund. It was conducted by the Polytechnic Institute of Bragança. The photos described were selected by Diogo Carvalho and Marisa Afonso. América Couto, Francisco Alves, Luciano Ferreira, Marisa Afonso, and Nuno Rodrigues validated this visit. Voice talents: José Luís de Castro and Ricardo Santos. Sound mixing: André Pinho. Production: Polytechnic Institute of Bragança. If you wish to send an email with your opinion to the Polytechnic Institute of Bragança's team, please email us at culturaparatodosbraganca@ipb.pt.